Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you and welcome to the 6th week of Basic Analysis Poetry course. And today we are going to talk about two types of poetry. The first one is dramatic poetry and the second one is lyric poetry. And these are our presenters, beginning with Izzatun Nabila, followed by Syauqi, Fawaid, Irza, Firmandi, Majid, Rizki Aby Trissya, Shafiyyah Karimah, and close with Nadira Qotrunnada. And these are our contents of topic today. Firstly, we are going to talk about dramatic poetry, beginning with the definitions, followed by the elements, and close with the types. And secondly, we are going to talk about lyric poetry, beginning with the definitions, followed by the types, and close with the examples. Firstly, dramatic poetry. So, what is dramatic poetry? The general definition of dramatic poetry is poetry that presents the voice of an imaginary character speaking directly without any additional narration by the author. Additionally, according to T.S. Eliot, a dramatic poem does not consist of what the poet will say in his own person, but only what he can say within the limits of one imaginary character addressing another imaginary character. So it means that dramatic poetry is a poetry that not written by the author perspective, but by the character perspective. For your information, Robert Browning is the developer of dramatic poetry, and this is his famous dramatic poetry with the title My Last Duchess. Then after this, we are going to talk about the elements of dramatic poetry that will present by our next presenters.
Okay guys, before we go to the next materials, take a deep breath please. Okay, let's continue. Alright, in this slide, we will talk about the elements of dramatic poem or poetry. Do you know guys, what kinds of elements of dramatic poetry? Yeah, there are several points. The first is the title, the second is the viewpoint, and the third is the voice. Okay, we go to the first point, the title. As we know, the title is very important to know what the text about, yes? Like the title of a book or any other published text or work of art is a name for the work, which is usually chosen by the author. This should inform the audience that the poem is in the dramatic mode, and also set the stage for the content of the drama to follow. For example, Browning is no duke, even though he uses the word my in the title, My Last Duchess. Yes, this topic. Okay, and the second point is the viewpoint. Yeah, the poet or the poem creates an entity through which events in an episode or topics in a character study are filtered, as comments in Browning's poem are filtered through the duke. And the third point is the voice. Using voice expressively to create roles, situation, relationships, atmosphere, and symbols. Even though the poet may employ the first person, tones of voice are not the poets but the entities. In the Browning's poem, the sleek, snobby, and presumptuous tones are linked with the Duke's personality. Maybe that's all the elements of dramatic poem or poetry. What have you understood, guys? Okay, next to the next material.
Hello guys, and we can continue in my topic. And in my topic, it's 3 types of dramatic poetry. Okay, there are 3 types of dramatic poetry. The first is tragedy, second is comedy, and the third is dramatic monologue. So let's go to the first types of dramatic poetry. Type 1. Tragedy. Tragedy is any story that ends unhappily, like the death of leading characters. The first dramas, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, and The Crucible, are examples of tragedies. And we can next to type 2 is comedy. Comedy is a drama that is entertaining. The purpose of comedy is to make the audience laugh. Comedy has an atmosphere that is opposite to tragedy, where comedy has a happy ending and also humorous. The example of comedy are The Tempest, The Midsummer Night's Dream. So these types, tragedy and comedy, have a opposite atmosphere. That tragedy is sad and comedy is fun. So maybe from tragedy, it can make the audience sad or cry, but the comedy, the purpose is make the audience to laugh. Okay, in the type 3 is dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue is a combination of drama and poetry presented by one speaker to the audience, and they are silent. The entire audience can understand the speaker's personality and character from his attitude or monologue. The last act is example of dramatic monologue. So dramatic monologue, it's just one speaker present the drama to the audience, but this one speaker is the audience like this. The purpose is the audience can understand what is the character from the speaker by the attitude from the speaker. Okay, this is topic for me, and we can next to the next topic. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this good opportunity, I would like to present about definition of lyric poem. But before that, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Rizki Aby Trissya, and you can call me Abi. So, for the next, I would like to ask you first, what is that lyric poem? A lyric poem is a short, sincerely expressive sound with a song-like quality that is described in the main individual. In contrast to account verse, which relates occasion and recounts a story, verse investigates the feeling of the speaker of the sound. Verse began in antiquated Greek writing and was initially proposed to be combined with a good soundtrack, joined by an instrument called a lyre, which takes after a little harp. Verse generally addressed to exacting proper standards, but since there have been a wide range of kinds of verse over hundreds of years, there are presently different various types of verse. Besides, a lyric poem is profoundly melodic refrain that passes on groundbreaking emotions. The writer may utilize rhyme, meter, or other artistic gadgets to make a tone like quality. In contrast to a converse, which narrative occasions first does need to recount a story. A verse sound is a private articulation of feeling by a solitary speaker. Okay, I think that's all from me, and I say thank you very much. To the next presenter, I would like to present about types of lyric poetry.
Types of lyric poetry. Lyric poetry, however, encompasses a wide range of forms and approaches. Normally, an experience or phenomenon can be explored in the emotional, personal lyric mode, from war and patriotism to love and art. Lyric poetry also has no prescribed form. Sonnets, villanelles, rondeaus, and pantoms are all considered lyric poems. So are elegies, odes, and most occasional for ceremonial poems. When composed in free verse, lyric poetry achieves musicality through literary devices such as alliteration, assonance, and anaphora. Lyric poems are often divided into stanzas or verses. Stanzas are usually separated by a single blank line. Stanzas within a poem may have the same form or may vary. The poet also tries to develop interesting forms based on variation of rhyme, rhythm, and meter. Okay, next is rhyme. What is rhyme? Rhyme is the repetition of sounds in different words. Rhyme can occur within lines, or we can call internal rhyme, or more usually at the end of lines. A rhyme scheme is a short formula for describing the pattern of rhyme in a poem, and words that rhyme are assigned the same letter. What does it mean with the same letter? So this is the example. It seems to me has plenty of term for poetry. E and E. So we can describing the pattern of rhyme in a poem with A and A. The next is I've made lots of notes and done my best. I'm betting these terms are on the test. So we can describe this pattern of rhyme is B and B, A B B. To me for poetry, done my best on the test. And then next we can discuss about rhythm. What is rhythm? If you have ever studied music or played an instrument, you will know that music is broken into time units or a certain number of beats in a bar or a line. This creates rhythm. Most poetry is broken up into units or beats in a similar way in music. To show a poem's rhythm, you divide the words into syllables, then decide which syllables are stressed and which are not. A stressed syllable makes you raise your voice somewhat and linger over the accented syllable. By reading a word aloud, you will hear the natural stress on a strong syllable, indicating stressed and unstressed syllables. We can indicate with the slash symbol. It means that this is the stressed word. You might like to know that the technical term for this is ictus, and then U symbol for the word that unstressed or unstressed syllables. And last, we will talk about meter. Meter refers to the particular rhythm or pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in a poem. The unit of meter in poetry is the foot. A foot contains one stressed syllable and one or more unstressed syllables. The most used of meter that are limbic meter, trochaic meter, pyrrhic meter, anaphastic meter, dactylic meter, and spondy meter.
There are many different subtypes of lyric poems. Here are a few examples. The first, love song. Some lyric poem or song about expressing love for another person, And the second, patriotic song, include lyric poem or song about expressing strong patriotic content. And the third, hymn, that is religious song or poem about praise to God. And the fourth, elegy, very sad poem, but typically written in couplet that have specific pattern of meter. And the fifth, ode. Ode is like elegy, but there is no strict structure or format for an ode. It is common for many odes to have refrain or repeat lines or stanza, but that is not a requirement. Also, odes are often longer than other types of lyric poetry. And the sixth, sonnet. Overall, sonnet have 14 lines, usually written in iambic pentameter, which is 5 pair of stress and unstressed syllable. This overall structure or predetermined syllable and rhyme makes sonnet flow off your thunder in a similar way that a song on the radio does. For example, Coaster Wagon on Indian Groove and in Childhood. Our example, romantic poem from William Wordsworth. It says that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling that takes origin from emotion calculate in tranquility. That the poetry passion, the evident and a blown exclamatory statement such as a sordid boon. Wordsworth condemns materialism and alienation from nature, as this section of the poem illustrates. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay with our power. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away. A sordid boon. The poet spontaneous, it was truly composed with care. Type of this lyric poem, pattern and sonnet. The complete poem has 40 lines with a prescribed rhyme scheme, metrical pattern, and arrangement of ideas. And this, for example, sonnet from Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Sonnet 43. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and hate my soul can reach, while feeling out of sight. For the ends of being an ideal grace, I love thee to the level of very everyday, most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely, as men strive for right. I love thee purely, as they turn from pride. I love thee with a passion put to use, in my old grace and with my childhood faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose. With my last saints, I love thee with a breath, smile, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee, but rather death. Is this poem express of the speaker love for her future husband, setting it apart from a narrative poem? The poem has no character or plot. Instead, it is a first-person display of emotion. It follows the form in Italian sonnet with a rhyme scheme ABBA, ABBA, CD, 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 and there is no closing rhyme couplet.